Alright, welcome back to another Leather Seat Pros and Touchups Automotive video. Today we are installing this Aaliyah Leather Hex Stitch two-tone kit on a 2018 Honda Civic, and today we're installing seat heaters in it, so you're going to get to see all that. Alright, let's get started. Alright, these are the tools you're going to need for this leather install.
Good one, it's kind of rough. Yeah. You still got the seat covers in there?
Alright, welcome back to another Leather Seat Pros and Touchups Automotive video. Today we are installing this Aaliyah Leather Hex Stitch two-tone kit on a 2018 Honda Civic, and today we're installing seat heaters in it, so you're going to get to see all that. Alright, let's get started. Alright, we're going to start removing the seats, starting with the front seats. So you're going to push it all the way back, and then we're going to expose these front bolts, which are T50s. Now, these back plastics, we're going to remove them so they don't get fumbled around on the tables and broken. They just have a couple tabs on the inside, I'll show you. So they just have these. I'm just pushing against it and popping them off from right there. Let me go ahead and get the other one too. Alright, I'm going to move it back. This one, I'm going to move the whole seat up like this. And then scoot it back so that the back plastic is even with the back of the rail. And now we're going to get the plugs. You have to get down here. You have to get down in here. Alright, there we go. Alright, so they're connecting the harness right here. Go ahead and pull it out. And then we have right there, hold it right there. Alright, we got a series of plugs here. So we're just going to get them one by one. Pushing on the tab on that one. Right there. Right there. And then the tab on this one. And then this one has this system. You're gonna pull this black clip up and it'll pop that off. Then we have this last connection here. Alright, and that's it for this. In the game. Alright. There's a couple different ways you can pull these seats out. a method I like, instead of just pulling it up and coming straight out, is lean the seat back, take my hand and put it in between here so I can get kind of a good hold on it, and then I'm going to pick it straight up and roll out the front of the butt and pull it out this way. This is good for also when you don't have you have a small door area. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and start tearing down the cloth. So to start, we need to remove these controls, the height adjuster, the lean back adjuster, this plastic. Alright, we're gonna start by getting this height control right here. So it's got, here, I'll show you. We're gonna come from up underneath. And all right, now it's got three little tabs right here, and I'm just trying to pop it loose from one, and it's kind of hard to get in there, so I was using one of these. Just keep it there for a second. All right, this is a 12, so we're gonna remove this. And this has a bunch of little, all right, now there's a bunch of washers on here. And we're going to set them aside just the way they came out. We have a magnetic dish here. We're just gonna set them, and then that way we can take them back, put them right back on. All right, and the headrest, we're gonna pop the headrest off. This has one tab, one push tab. All right, now this lean back control is can be a little tricky. We're gonna flip it upside down. There's no tab or no screw from behind you can get to. All right, so there's kind of a plastic tab and a metal indentation in here, and this is just the best way we found to get these off. So I'm gonna pull it down a little bit, and we're gonna hit it, try to hit it from here. So, and usually, it doesn't scar anything up doing this, and pops it right off. And you can see there's nothing to, it's just this. It's held on by this. So, all right. Once we're here, we flip this back over, and we're gonna get this plastic. All right, now I usually start from the back. All right, and so you want to separate this a little bit, stick a flathead in here, and pop it loose from its tabs. Just like that. And then we're going to do the same thing on this side. We try and start up high. There you go. And then, so once we've popped it off from here, you're gonna have to lift. We're gonna lift up on. There's a kind of a tab right here. You can see it. So it's being held on right there. You might be able to get it with your hands, but I'm gonna go from inside and pop it up with a flathead. And this might come out also. If it does, just set it aside. And then it has a metal clip that we're gonna get. And I'm just gonna squeeze this since we have access to it from the back. And then it lifts up. There's one more thing holding it on here. Lifts up from there. And as you can see, there's this holding it on this rail. And from here, you're good to go. Just so you can see. Tab there. Yeah, this metal clip. Alright, from here, I'm gonna flip it upside down. Most of everything else is on the bottom. I guess we'll start from the back here because there's less on the back. So you have a flat piece of plastic going into this J-clip. We're gonna have some zippers. And then you have J-clips right here. So just gonna pop them out. Just on this side, and then he's got some going into the foam here. Now, on the butt. And got one more here. All right, for old covers, these old covers are old covers in general. No one's gonna want to be keeping them or saving them, so you can just cut all of this off. You just cut right along here all the way down, and make this a little bit easier. But if you're doing this yourself, putting the new covers on, you might want to use it for reference. It helps to have the old cover for reference when you're putting the new one on. So it's just kind of up to you. Once we have all the clips undone, we're going to flip it back over. At this point, you're ready to remove the butt and just kind of pull it out. These seat heater or these headrest bezels, you just kind of expose one corner of this, and then they'll go pretty easy. And then these So for these, you gotta pull this airbag sleeve out. Hondas are a little bit different than usual. We're gonna show you how to do it. The airbag does not need removed completely. There's 3 airbag nuts. Only 2 of them are holding it to the frame. It's the top and bottom ones. So we're going to remove the top and bottom so that we can pull the airbag away from the frame and give us access to the white square clips. Two of them are holding it to the frame. I was totally wrong about that. That's alright, I'll cut that sound out. Just about the 2 bolts. I'm gonna flip this over so that you can see it better. So you have these plastic square big fat tabs in here, clips, and we got to get those out, and they have these little tabs holding them in right here. There's 2 of them on each one. So once you have the airbag loose, you can expose them right here, and there's enough room to get them out. Otherwise, the airbag is just sandwiched right on top of them and you can't do it. So we're just going to push on these tabs and break them loose just like that, and then slide them out. Same with this one. You get one side and then the other side. So the whole airbag itself doesn't need to come out, and so you only need to get the top and bottom airbag bolt. This middle one can stay. So we're just gonna put it back where it goes for now. And once you expose that, it's just all right. So now we're ready to start removing these hog rings one way or another. So we want to show you a couple methods. You can cut these or you can twist them out. If you twist them out, it just goes like that. You don't even need to cut them. We usually cut them. Now, if you are going to cut them, you have some options like this, and we wanted to tell you, this style is like miniature bolt cutter style, is a whole lot easier on your hands. That's really hard with these, and you can just get these from Harbor Freight for I think less than $10. But so we're gonna go in here and cut, but like this one is easy, but sometimes on these the side you need to cut, because this is like a closed loop, sometimes the side you need to cut is on the other side, so that kind of makes it difficult. But if that is the case, what you can do is cut it and then grab and roll it like this, and just roll it until just keep cutting it and rolling it, cutting it and rolling it. So it just kind of depends on which side the hog ring was applied. If it was on this side or if it was on this side, then the part you need to cut may be on the other side. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and cut them. Let's see, here's an example. So I'm just rolling it out and then cutting more of it. Yeah, so you can tell these ones were applied on the other side. But here, actually, I'm gonna go ahead and get this side. And then once I've gotten that, I can expose the other side of these and make it easier on myself. Alright, and we're going to go ahead and remove all these broken pieces. And you can get a lot of them out that way, and then we'll come in here and get the rest. Alright, now let's get the butt. Wrap it around or unwrap it. Alright, there it is, ready for the leather.
Alright, this car is getting seat heaters, and there's a lot of different ways to do seat heaters. We do what's called a floating install, meaning this cover, this pad, is just going to lay on here. It's going to go right across. It's just going to go right across this listing. And we don't tape them down. This has an adhesive, but we leave it, we don't tape these down. So that once the cover's on here, this pad is allowed to move just a little bit, as you're sitting in it over years, whatever. If it's glued down, it wouldn't have a chance to move. It kind of puts extra stress on everything. But it's what we call a floating install. So in the end, it's pretty much laid just like this. Now you can, the reason we don't do this is because if you shove them down in these channels, you have kind of these kinked areas, and these will get a lot worse over time. It'll really bunch down in there. It puts stress on the wires here. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but the power wires, you have the carbon fiber filaments, but there's a power wire runs down both sides. You can cut these areas, you can do whatever, but you can't cut these, the actual power wires. So when these get shoved down in here, it kind of kinks it. And then if you put a rail in here for the seat, you got even more pressure on all this stuff. So we just do a floating install. Now imagine on most seats, it'll have another listing right here. So now you got it crammed in here, you got it crammed in up here, and you have all this area that can start getting bunched up, and just more areas of stress on these main wires. So we do what's called a floating install, and we've been doing it for 20 years this way. All right, we're going to show you exactly how to do that.
All right, we're about to show you the positioning of the pads and what we do, but I wanted to explain one other thing. There's a resistor the seat heater has a resistor here, and whenever you're installing seat heaters on cloth or underneath cloth covers, sometimes you can see this resistor. So what we'll do is we'll cut out for it in the foam. I'm going to show you how to do that. So we're just using this piece of foam to show you. So you have the resistor here, and I usually, what I'll do is get it where I think the seat heater is going to go, and I'll come up underneath and cut for it, or draw where I'm going to cut. So, and I'm cutting probably, you know, this much around it, giving it some space, and then find the end of it where I think the end is going to go, just like so. I'm going to take a blade, probably a fresh one for this, and kind of cut diagonally. Like a 45-degree angle. And then you can kind of just peel it out from here. Like so. And then whenever we get it back here, for example, you know, this has a listing here, which most of them will probably, you know, in the area. So I'll leave this top part above the listing free, and I'll take the tape off of this bottom part all around. That way the resistor will remain in the area of the hole that I cut. And that's how we do that. All right. Now for this back, you know, a lot of times if there's only like, you know, if the listing's here, if there's only this little portion up here, we'll just cut it off right at the listing. But for this one, you know, most of the, like, your back is not really gonna hit this. We want to give the customer as much heat as possible, so I'll probably move it up so that we can take advantage of get the most out of this pad. And then we're gonna cut for it here. So I'm gonna lay it down. Get it where I think it's gonna go, and then I'll draw a line where the listing is. This one's curved. Some of them are straight, and then you can just use these straight lines and cut all the way across, but this one's a little curved. And then, you know, you don't want to cut these power wires, and you want to leave enough space. So this is just what I usually do. I'll hold the razor blade at the end, because we're gonna cut here to give it like some flaps to and just for reference, to show you in case you don't have one of these exact blades. It's about 1 3/4 inch. That's just where I put it. You know, it could be 2 inches. You know, it's not crucial. It is crucial to not cut these power wires, but you know, you want to just get away so you're making sure you don't hit them. All right, from here, let's go ahead and start cutting it. All right. There's the back. All right, I like to give just a little bit of foam left over here so that the wire can kind of fold over the foam, be a little rounded instead of pointed, because we're going to go through the foam right there with the wire. And then also, you know, look at the back, and then look at the front up here, and make sure, you know, it's even and straight. And then you can just put your fingers in here and feel the listing. And then I'm going to cut for this wire. So I'm just going to go right in the middle. And now sometimes the wire will go across. It just depends on the vehicle. Sometimes this is split here. You can also just split it yourself just to put the wire through here. This one in particular, we're going to go just right here in the listing area. So I've cut it through the top. Now I'm going to come and see where it should come out. And cut it from here. And then you just want to, I've got my finger on the other side too. I'm just finding my finger, and I found it. So now this is, we're not gonna put it in there yet. It's time for the covers. All right, when we buy our hog rings by the pound, but you know, if you just need them for one job, you can get these at TSC, Tractor Supply Company. There's usually one in, you know, almost every town. For the hog ring pliers, we use a pair like this. It's bent. You know, you can get in places a little bit easier. But these are about $50. They're a CS Osborne brand. Or you can get a pair that looks really similar to this at Harbor Freight for about $10. They're straight. You know, if you only need them for one job, you know, you can get by with these. All right, so now we're ready to start putting the leather on. Now this is a custom kit by Aaliyah Leather. Now when you get your cover, the first thing you want to do is turn it inside out. So that's what we're going to do. And once I have it inside out, put these wings in here, kind of expose this body. Now on this one, we're doing the seat heater. We're installing seat heaters, so there is something we need to do to the cover. So I'm going to flip the cover back, exposed the length that we need to cut, because we need to cut for these rails so that they can go in the channel completely. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about, but I'll basically line it up to where it's perfectly even, and then I'm going to cut the inside of the rail up to this point. And be very careful. You don't want to cut any stitches or seams. I'm going to go to the other side. Cut up to there. Okay, now flip it back out, and make sure you have this pad right side up. You know, right now it's, you know, make sure it's not on the wrong side, because this is the side with the tape, and that's going to go on the foam. So now we're going to stick the rail through each side. Sometimes you gotta bend it a little bit. All right, now it's ready to go onto the seat. I'm gonna lay this down, make it easier. Pull it up to where it goes. And you're gonna make sure it's centered. But when you have ones that are hog rings on these metal on rails, they can slide a little bit. So if it's not perfectly straight at first, that's all right. So there it is. I'm getting them really close to each other, as close as I can. And just getting it around both sides. Now once I've got one in, I'm gonna go and double check that everything's kind of straight. I'm going by these seams and the channels. Looks straight, so we're gonna press on.
Okay, so
Alright. Now, when we're doing these pads, doing ones with the seat heaters, I'm going to make sure that this is where it goes. So I'm going to roll it over, check the other side, because this flap can get kind of folded the wrong way. So everything looks good. Looks like it's laying in there nicely. Alright, and this is why we do it this way. As you can see, there's not a whole lot of pressure on this pad right here, and you know, it's just kind of floating in there, and it allows for some movement. So alright, we're gonna, so this one in particular folds over the top portion a lot. So if we hog ring the whole face, it's going to be really difficult to roll it over. So to make it easier on myself and to not, you know, damage the cover from stretching it or tearing it, I'm going to do just this top one on both sides. We're going to roll it over, then we're going to hit this. So, and when you're doing these sides, you want to make sure it's centered, everything's where it goes. So we're aiming to get this seam into the groove there. Okay. Flip it up, and we're gonna roll this over. and you want to just be careful with it, and pull a little to my side, give me some more room. All right, as I'm rolling this other corner over, I'm keeping pressure in on this zipper so that it's not under too much stress. Something else I'll do is I come up here and kind of see where we're at here. You know, I have the headrest bezels to go by, and I kind of use that for reference, and the seems like we're good. I'm just getting this wire, I mean, where it goes, but out of the way. This one's kind of deep down in here. There we go. Okay. I'm just pulling this down just a little. All right. We can roll this right, this side over. The other side we're gonna put the airbag into, back where it goes. This airbag is different than the one we just removed. Sometimes it'll be the exact same. They went with the sleeve in this case, so we need to put the airbag in that sleeve. So, but it has to go, the sleeve has to go through here. So, I'm just gonna move it down because I'm trying to do this without having to remove any of that, and we should be able to get away with it. So I'm gonna shove this sleeve in here. And then I'm gonna try and open it from the bottom and put the airbag inside. Yeah, I can flip this over. All right. So I'm just kind of working it in there, little by little, on each side. And I kind of made some room on the top there. And then, you know, it's got 3 holes in the sleeve, and that's where give it some more room from the top. There we go. We're getting there. And we're almost there. Put this. Okay. Now, you can kind of check in here. We're not quite there yet. We're close. We gotta get this bolt or post through this hole. There we go. All right. Looks like we're good. So we're gonna put it back in the holes that it came out of. As you can see, we're in there. You put the nuts back on it. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten those down now. So the airbag is taken care of. Just putting this all back where it goes. Okay, now we're gonna fold this. Fold this over. And it's looking pretty good. Now these hog rings side that's on the metal rails, they have a bit of, wiggle room. You can slide them up and down a little bit. And from this point, all right, from here, you don't need to steam these. You can set these out in the sun. You can set the covers out in the sun before you install them. Then you can set the seats in the sun after you've installed them. You can put them in the car, turn the heat on. but just don't use a hair dryer or a heat gun. All right. We're gonna stick these back on. All right, from this point, we're going to put these back J-clips on. Okay. Now we're going to start zipping it. All right, on these zippers, you gotta be careful. Make sure you're bringing them together, and make sure that the pressure is not from pulling it. You don't want it like this. If you ruin these zippers, you break the zippers, the cover's ruined. You're gonna have it re-sewn, or get a new cover. But pull them together, make sure they're parallel, not like this, and zip them down. And also make sure you're not double zipping it. Getting two links in one spot. So just make sure everything is nice and smooth. And do it by hand, don't use a tool. Go. All right. We're gonna shove this through here now with the seat heater wire. We're going to just bring that alongside the airbag wire, the yellow one. Just like so. And I believe, all right, this one, this cover has got these J-clips that need brought through here, and then this has a wire, kind of a wire cover out of leather. And as you bring the side up here, it'll kind of start to form it in place. I'm gonna go ahead and put these on here. So I'm also looking in here to make sure it's all nice and clean. It's, where it's supposed to go. And I've clipped those on there. Same on this side. Now, we're gonna go ahead and get these zippers. So you just wrap them around, try and sandwich them in between the foam and the frame. wrap it around and just sandwich them in there. Okay, from here we're ready to get this J-clip. So you may have to pull it kind of tight. And we're just gonna roll it into here, and then make sure it's in there. We're gonna flip it back over. There it is. Ready for the butt. All right. We're ready to put the cover on the butt now. Now I want to show you on this pad we need to cut for this listing, but I forgot that Aaliyah, instead of just having this tiny portion, this narrow portion of decoration, they extended it out. Also, as you can see here, it's larger and there's no rail here. And they also did that to match the back here. So we're not going to use that. And because of that, we're going to go ahead and put the wire through here now. Now be careful pulling this through. You don't want to just yank on this, pull these wires out of here. Once we've got it to this point, you see it's kind of tangled up here, or at least the wire cover is. So I usually just kind of flatten it out, make it nice and neat and clean. And once we're here, I'm gonna go ahead and get the cover ready. So all right, now we have the cover. We're about to turn inside out. I did want to mention, if you got the covers, you're not sure which one is for which side, passenger or driver, you can just check the tag here and look for this down here, this FCD. This is front cushion driver. So we have the right one. We're going to turn it inside out. Alright, so normally what we would do is we would go front to back as far as the hog rings and rails, then side to side, but this one has no front to back. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go from the back here and try to find a reference. So we have these indentions right here. I'm going to try and line it up here with these just as good as possible, just to give me somewhere to start. I'm gonna put this back rail in here so it looks centered up. And since this is on these metal rails, the metal rails inside the foam here, these hog rings will slide on them a little bit. So I guess I'm gonna go ahead and hit these back ones. I'm also making sure that this pad is straight, not getting folded or jumbled around. Once we have all the hog rings in there, we're going to fold it around a corner. We're just going to start folding it around the whole thing. Okay. Now it's ready to go back on. All right. There's a couple things to note here. You know, this flap needs to go over this bar here, and we're going to start by sticking the flap through here. And this flap, so this split right here is for this wire cover that we got. So we're going to stick the right side flap on the other side of it, just like so. Just kind of bring it up till the foam is back there, and then now I'm going to try and stick this foam where it goes. These corner pieces, sometimes they don't want to go over the bar, so you just got to make them. And then while you're back here, you can kind of start to see where this hole is going to go for the wire you made. So, you know, I'm going to go ahead and put it through this middle part right here. Looks like that's where it's going to go naturally. So there we go, nice and neat. while we're here, I'm gonna kind of get the rest of the foam around the frame where it's supposed to go. And it seems like we're in good shape here. So I'll go ahead and get the. Oh, hold on, I can see this back seat heater wire needs to. Okay, so we're good there. Go ahead and start putting this on here. All right, go ahead and get this front. All right. For these sides, you know, this one needs to go underneath this bar. It actually needs to go underneath that too. But hold on. When you're doing this, look at the top here and make sure this is nice and neat where it's supposed to go. All right, looks like we're pulling on this bar quite a bit. It could use a little bit more room, so I'm gonna just cut just a little bit here. Give more room to work with. All right, this too, I'm just gonna cut it where this bar is. Just be careful, you can always cut more, but you can't uncut it. So, okay, I'm gonna lean it back so you can see it better. Now this needs to go on the other side of this, but this bar is kind of in the way. So okay, there we go. Now, this side's easier. Goes there. now we're ready for the plastic. Alright, so you're gonna have to line this up with this. And make sure you've exposed this enough so that this can go on top of it. So line that up, and you can get that first, and then we're gonna get this sides, and it just kind of snaps on all around the edge. And this just kind of pushes on. You can kind of see right there. Right, it's kind of pushing it and then going down a little bit, and then we have this last clip right here. And there you have that. Now we're gonna stick this back on. Now this might take some finagling and some working in there to get it where it goes. I'm gonna stick these washers back on there the way they came off. In the cover. That cover's got a prong, guiding prong, and it actually goes over this prong. I just cannot see that. All right. We got that. Now one of the last things is these headrests, bezels. All right, now you want to find the whole bevel, and then you want to find the hole, the post that the headrest post hole it's going to go into. Once you find it, you want to just try and cut a little, like right above it, and on the sides, just kind of make a square around it. And then cut this foam. Usually pull away as I'm cutting it. And then, this is leather, so it doesn't really want to stretch very much. You can tear it very easily wrapping around. So I'll create kind of, I'll just make some cuts to give us a little more slack. And go one corner, another one, and see it wants to tear there, so just be careful. Now I'm just making sure the leather is going in its spot, and there you go. we go. Alright, ready for the headrest. Lucky I made it easier for you. Alright, now we're at the headrest. Normally we would remove this cover, but really a lot of times the cover is glued on here. You know, sometimes there's a J-clip here and you pop it out and you remove this whole cover, but in these cases where it's glued on, we don't remove them. So we're just gonna stick the cover over it. And we do that just like any other. Now, make sure you're putting it on right, you know, not backwards. There's usually a couple indications, a couple ways to tell. So you can look at the shape, if it has an odd shape. And another way to tell is the headrest posts. So you can see the holes are kind of at the back of the cover. You know, if this is one flat plane, they're at the back just like these are. So, all right, so we're gonna open it up, and then I'm gonna sandwich it down with my body, and then pull it up over this side. This is kind of getting started. I'm just gonna work it on a little bit at a time. Now you want to be careful, because you know you can rip this pretty easily. So just kind of take it slow. You know, you want to pull from the bulk, and like the bulk of the cover, not these flaps. Don't try and pull it down from these flaps. All right. And I'm checking if it's straight. Okay, so getting closer. Okay. Velcro this together. And then you have some underneath here. So, alright, this one, this main flap has to go underneath here. So gonna just line that up with the others. And there we go. Make sure it's straight. Looks pretty good. Complete.
All right, to get these back seats out, we got a couple 12 millimeters. And then one on this side. And these ones, don't forget to grab loose bolts. So that's just going to slip out. And then this big one is in from the side. And set that bracket. And then it's going to have a seat belt thing here. Take it out of its bracket, and then once you do that, it's going to expose. We just have one 10 millimeter. And then to get the seat out, you can't see them. I'll show them to you later, but there's a little clip you have to grab and pull out. And it's kind of tucked up under there. So once you find it, kind of take the pressure off the seat as you're pulling, just enough to let it come out. And then this will just pull out. You gotta get these seat belts out of the way. The cover's split over here, just kind of get them out of the way. And then it's kind of tight in here, but it's kind of pulls out. This is a coupe. We're working on a coupe today, so it's a little tighter than if you had a sedan four-door. Here's these retainers I was talking about. So when the cover's there, you can't see them, but this is what you're feeling for. And it's kind of under pressure when the seat's in here, so that's why you hold the seat down and pull that back. All right, on these back seats, they're really straightforward, simple. If you've done the fronts or watched the fronts, doing the backs will be real easy. So there's just one little important tip I want to show you, but I have to get it stripped first, and then we'll come back and I'll show you this one little tip that'll help you when you're putting the new covers back on. All right, on these back seats, like I said, they're pretty straightforward, but I did want to show you this one little tip right here. You see this screw that holds this in? Go ahead and put it back in there, you know, finger tight or so, while you're putting before you get the cover all the way on, because when you are ready to put that in, you know, you won't be able to find that screw hole. But with the, if you put it in there beforehand, you'll be able to find the head of that screw. We're just going to cut around it, take it back out, then put this back in. But don't do this till you're completely done, so everything's on. That just helps you find it later. But other than that, these back seats are pretty straightforward. They're easier than the fronts. You just bring them down. All right, I'm gonna go over a little bit of the wiring for the seat heaters. Here's our part of the wiring harness. This is the power and ground wire. These are going to stub up under the carpet on each side. But I'm going to show you where we hook them up. Now each vehicle is different, so it's not going to be all encompassing. I'm just going to show you on this 2018 Civic. example. Okay, this panel goes there where your hood release is. I took it out because we have to get up under it and to show you this placard. And I don't know if you can see that, but this is the fuse locations and what they're for. And generally you want to find one that says accessory, your USB ports, things like that. They're usually switched because we're looking for switched power. So when you turn the key off, the seat heaters will go off. And on this particular car, I don't know if I can get that. It's this one right here. You see it says 10 amp accessory. You can see that. And that is located above your hood release. And then you see the fuse box. And the fuse we're looking for is this one on the bottom corner right here. That 10 amp. And what I'll do, I use these. These are really user friendly. They have they're a piggyback fuse, so you have extra protection. And I'll use 15s. I know it's a 10 amp, but I use 15 since we're adding seat heater circuit to it. And then for ground, if you can see that 10 millimeter nut right there on that stud, that's what we're going to ground to. It's going right into the body. And most vehicles will have something like that near the fuse box. So we've taken this panel loose and this one along your door sill. Usually take it completely off, but it gets the seat belt wrapped through it, so I just kind of left it because we can still get under here. So we want to get under the carpet, and then we're going to run our power and ground under here, and then over to here. There's your center console, and then the wiring for the passenger side is going to come under this console. And you know, every vehicle is different, but you just look for a spot that you got some gap, and then we use just a coat hanger that we've cut and put a loop in, and you just fish it through to the other side. And
Pull it back. Alright, go forward. There it is.
I got somebody on the other side helping me, so normally you have to climb over there and do it yourself. But so we got this through, and then now we're wanting this on the other side, so we're gonna go over here and loop it through. See if I can do this without having to loosen it. Or you have to cut all that out. Okay. Just cut all that out here in a second. So we're wanting to pull this through. So you just kind of hold it and pull it through. So now you got this, we're going to stub this out, And then on this side, this wiring. All right, on this side, we're gonna end up with the same thing, but we're gonna run it this way. But you take your all this and you just gotta finagle it under the carpet. Be careful not to pull on it too much or you'll pull it back through. And you just kind of work it under, and it's depending on the vehicle, some are easier than others. And then just make sure you have enough. You don't have to have it under there yet. Just make sure you have enough so that you don't wire it up and then it's too short. So we have these coming out. So this is kind of how we know, this is as close as we could get. So we're gonna have to work from here, or it's gonna pull that side too much. So we'll get our other one, and we're just gonna match it with that one. And then you'll need extra wire. So this is where all our wires are gonna meet. So we can't go any more this way, or we're gonna pull that plug too far. And then eventually we'll have this stubbed out right there. And we'll put the other side on the car and it'll just all plug in. So this is where you'll need extra wire to go from the fuse box in our ground block here, and then meet them all here. And then when you're done, you can push all the wires up out of the way. You'll keep them off of this rail, away from the seat bolts. So when you're all done, just kind of push it out of the way. All right, before I button this all up, I'm just gonna show you kind of the wiring. There's the piggyback fuse right there, and you just kind of follow the factory wiring, and then of course it goes under the carpet, and then each side has the stub out for the power and ground. That's one thing we really like about the Aaliyah seat heaters, because they do have this type of wiring harness, so you don't have to fight with adding butt connectors or messing with this after it's in the car. The other end of this goes on the bottom of the seat itself, where the other factory plugs are for these. So you just put the seat back in and just plug that in. All right, we gotta put the seat heater switch on the side of the seat here, and it's basically high. It's basically high, off, low, and this will light up when it's in the car. But we're gonna have to drill a hole for it, and a close size is a quarter that we just drill a hole through. And you need to find a spot where it sits flush and has this much room behind it. It's about 1.5 inches maybe. So you can't always put it where you would really want. You have to keep those two things in mind. But so we're gonna look under here, and yeah. So you see all that bracketry in there, and we have to miss all that. So you have to kind of, we definitely have to miss we definitely have to miss this plastic thing, because that's actually holding the seat, the cover on. So if you get one of these, this comes from Harbor Freight. They got a 4-pack. These are really handy. And we're just kind of guesstimating, just kind of feel for it. You're like, all right, that's about halfway in between there. You can kind of tell it's got room for that switch. And then you kind of look this way and see where it's going to come out. You see what so you kind of this way, see where it's going to come out, and then try to look as best you can this way, just to get an idea, so you know it's going to be pretty much there in that vicinity. And then that's where you want to put your, double check your quarter, just make sure it's still flat. And in this case, since we do have all this stuff on the other side, I'm just going to hold this, I'm going to push through this way, and it'll take some force. So I'm going to push this pointed this all this way, and then you can see that'll be the middle of our hole, and that's really flush. It wasn't exactly where my finger was. I think I was down here, but that'll work. Now if you want to move it, you can. That's not going to keep it's not going to hurt your bit location. You can probably move a little bit right there, which I might do. I kind of like it better there. And I know from looking at the back side, it'll fit. It'll be fine right there. So I'm going to mark this. It's pretty much really close to the same spot. I gotta get the bit. But it just takes some checking. Every vehicle's different. And then we use these bits. These are 20 millimeter. It's a hole saw, 20 millimeter. And just kind of hold things steady, because you don't want it grabbing or jerking around on you. And it's going real slow. Not a lot of pressure, because you don't want it. If you put a lot of pressure, you're going to jab through and start hitting framework. All we want to do is just make a hole. And the second it goes through there, let off, because it pretty much makes the perfect size hole. And then we'll use I use a razor blade. I just squeeze it with my fingers so it's got a little bend, and just knock this little bit off. But you can use something else if you don't have razor blades. And then once you got the hole in there, kind of trim it off. Grab your switch, you run the wires through, and look where the wire's going. you want to kind of run it away from framework or anything where it's going to get in a bind or get cut or kinked up or be in the way. And we're going to wire all this up here in a minute, but just when you first stick it through there, just kind of get in this general area. And then you're just going to eyeball it. To get it even. Yeah, it looks pretty good. And you can push it in with your fingers, but try to stay off the switch. Try to keep from putting too much pressure on the switch itself. But I use a socket. And something around a 15 millimeter fits right around the switch. Don't get a socket that's going to hit the switch like that. And you just grab some part of the seat for leverage. Push it in. And then test it, make sure it works freely. And that's the switch.
All right, now we got the pads in here, we got the switches. We're going to finish doing the wiring. From this point, I'm gonna flip the seat upside down. This makes it easier. Got a lot better access right here. Now, the easiest way to do this is with zip ties. If you don't have any zip ties, you can use tape. Now, I forgot to mention earlier that if you, for the electrical connections inside the car, when we wind that up, we recommend Super 33 electric tape. If you use the cheap stuff, it'll, over time, it'll dry out and come unglued. All right, so I'm gonna get these together right here. I try to avoid wiring them up right on the I try to avoid zip tying them directly onto the airbag wire, the yellow one. And all these can only be plugged in one way, so don't worry about plugging them in wrong to the wrong plugs. All right. Now, if you get the Aaliyah seat heaters, they're going to come with this extension, but the switch wire is long enough, so we're not going to use it. And we're going to put the wires here, so just kind of keep in mind or watch out for where you're going to put the wire that connects to the car. We're going to kind of group it with the others. So I got the wires kind of where I think they're going to go. I'm going to secure this one down. And when you're getting this switch wire, just make sure there's no tension on it. and there's no end. Alright, so now we're just left with this. And I'm gonna put it there. And then the relay. Alright, now cut all these tails off. Is. All right, so we're gonna remove these pieces. Let me show you how. So we're gonna start with the easiest first. These things, you know, it's easier to grab them from the front because you have more room to work with over here, but you can just yank these up and they're just held in by plastic clips. And you know, just yank it up, you're not gonna hurt anything. So then the armrest, you can slide it all the way up and you're gonna expose these screws. They're Phillips, so we're just gonna we're just gonna take them out. And then, okay, I'm not exactly sure, so I'm just gonna go with it. All right, then you're going to
Finger ass screws back here.
no, I think I need a it's got plastic tabs holding it on the sides, and then the bottom it just has plastic clips holding it in. So just gonna pop it off just like that, and it has these on the bottom along with these. So you want to be careful, but you know, it's not very difficult to take off without hurting anything. Alright guys, so we're gonna start working on these pieces, and I'm gonna start by removing these staples. So let's get into it. Alright, so I just have a little tiny flathead, and I'm just prying these up on the sides first, just one side, and then I'm gonna come through after and grab them all with this. So alright, so there we go. Got all the staples out, ready for the new cover. Alright, there she is. All right. All right, so now we are ready to put this lid on. Now, there is a front and a back to this. One way to tell is to look at this, look at the side of it, side view. So there's a round corner, sharper corner. And same on this side, round, a little sharper. So we're gonna go ahead and stick it in here. trying to get it in its home. All right. Just a tight piece. All right, we seem to be where we need to go now. Just kind of check the corners, and the corners have these indentions. You can usually put the seams into there, or try. And then this top part is going to have this. We're going to have to cut for that. I'm gonna go ahead and hold off on that. I'm gonna try to get this back started. So I'm just wrapping it over. Looking good. Look at that. That is nice. Little. All right. So normally when you do one of these, you'd have a lot of excess and you have to cut it off, but not much excess on this one. Now you do have your screw holes right here. I'm gonna make sure those are free. You can breathe. And there you have it. All right, now time for this thing. So a piece like this, it's kind of difficult on where to start. You know, it's not really any shape, some oddball deal. I normally try to go top to bottom, go one side and pull it over and then do the sides, but this is just an oddball shape. Oh man, there she be.
Body guys, he's the best one person we ever seen. You know? I don't know how he does it in those conditions. Dark. It's
He
dark.
didn't notice something. If somebody, like on my BMW before I had it repainted again, he's like, man, there's no way they put 2 coats of wood. It's coming right through.
Yeah.
All right.
But no, it's dark. A big good one, it's kind of rough.
Yeah. You still got the seat covers in there?
Yeah.
So this is with the seat covers to this.
Yeah.